Hi and welcome all, high or low, butcher baker, tall or small. I am Grimnir and this is the Grimnir Gate. As a special part of my boys celebrating their first day of Durin, we have gathered here at Erebor, the Lonely Mountain, to have a one-time outdoor version of a tavern talk, so welcome. I know, there won't be much crackling from the fireplace, frothy ales or cozy small talk between friends. On the other hand, what place or day can be more fitting to continue our little conversation on the topic of dwarves versus elves? It might sound argumentative or even provocative to put it like that, but I am doing this in the pure interest of redeeming the dwarven race, of course. Far too long have the Eldar been celebrated and revered as the firstborn and most beloved of Iluvathar's children, especially considering what they have been guilty of through the history of Arda. On the other end we have the dwarves, or Iluvathar's merely adopted children. They have had to carry quite a heavy cross compared to the weight of their sins. So welcome to today's theme, the weighing of sins during the First Age. There cannot be any doubt, of course, that the power behind all evil in Arda emanated from the Vala Melkor, later known as Morgoth. From the beginning, envy, hunger for power, and malice towards all of Iluvathar's creation befouled all his thoughts and actions. But does this evil make everyone else free from their individual moral responsibility? Last episode on this subject ended with the Valar starting and winning the War of the Powers against Melkor, all for the sake of saving and protecting the firstborn, offering them a safe haven in Valinor, land of the gods. During this quite cataclysmic event, the dwarves struggled along on their own in a merely starlit Middle-earth filled with and tainted by the evils of Melkor. Hardy and strong the dwarves were, and very resilient to the influence of the Dark One. Of course, they also were saved in a way, like all non-evil creatures in Middle-earth, by the defeat and imprisonment of Melkor. So now many of the Eldar came to the havens of the gods, and second among them, the Noldor clan, the Deep Ones, considered greatest in lore and craft among their own. They were curious and learned a lot, especially of crafting from the gods, and mightiest among them became Feanor, the greatest craftsman Arda's ever seen. Since Melkor earlier had destroyed the great lamps, Yavanna now had created the even greater lights in the trees Telperion and Laurelin. With them the telling of time had begun in Arda. After ages of imprisonment, Melkor was finally set free, Manwe truly believing in his repentance, not being able to see through all the veils of deceit. So, to make a long story short, Melkor went around and about in Valinor, sowing his evil seeds among the Eldar, especially the Noldor. Even Feanor, who hated Melkor more than anyone, got entangled in the dark webs of lies and soon believed that everyone wanted to take the greatest treasure ever crafted in Arda, his 3 Silmarils. Everybody admired them, Varda hallowed them, and many wanted them, and among them Melkor more than anyone. So determined was Feanor to keep the jewels to himself that he would make any dwarf king blush. Even after Melkor, together with Ungoliant, the ancient all-consuming spider, destroyed the two trees, and Yavanna told Feanor that the light from the trees once captured by him in the jewels could save or revive the trees, the Noldor prince refused to destroy his work, and so the trees died. But that is not the only example of, shall we call it, doubtful moral behavior from this gang of elves. After Melkor stole the Silmarils and escaped to Middle-earth, Fëanor swore a famous oath. Be he foe or friend, be he foul or clean, brood of Morgoth or bright Vala, Elda or Maya or aftercomer, neither law nor love nor league of swords, dread nor danger nor doom itself shall defend him from Fëanor and Fëanoro's kin. Whose hiddeth or hoardeth or in hand taketh, finding keepeth or afar casteth as Silmaril. This swear we all, death we will deal in their days ending, woe unto world's end. Our word hear thou, Eru All-Father, to the everlasting darkness doom us if our deed faileth. On the holy mountain hear in witness, and our vow remember, Manve and Varda. That is an oath that will make any of the dwarven fathers proud, I'll tell you. After all this, hell breaks loose in Middle-earth, but not before the first kinslaying among the Eldar, where the Noldor killed the Teleri at Aqualonde and stole their swan ships to get to Middle-earth. That which followed when the Noldor arrived was 6 great battles between Melkor, or Morgoth Bauglir as Fëanor named him, and the Elves of Beleriand, led by the Noldor High Kings and their peoples. Even if Fëanor died in the first battle, his kin carried on, and they dragged all of Beleriand into their strife. Even if one could argue that they protected the lands and the people in it against Morgoth, many things, even a victory, would have been possible was it not for the internal strife of the Eldar, led by the Noldor, most of it related to the oath of Fëanor and the doom of Mandos. I will not get into every gruesome detail, even if there are plenty to pick from. While there also is victory and glory, most of these events are tainted by pride, vengeance, war, tragedy, and unnumbered tears. Even if you paint with broader strokes, it is hard to deny the dubious moral quality of the elves, especially the Noldor. The kinslaying is not the only example. Another early one is when Fëanor decides to burn the stolen swan ships instead of sending them back to aid his half-brother Fingolfin, and by doing this, condemning them to a lethal march across the northern ice Helcarax. And the third one is when the sons of Fëanor attack Doriath, kills the king Dior, leaving the king's young sons in the forest to die, and then eventually attack the fugitives from Doriath in the havens of Sirion, driving Elving, daughter of Dior, into the sea. Her husband, the Merenil Erendil, crossed the great sea, led by the light of the Silmaril, and by begging for and receiving the aid of the Valar, thus ending the First Age with a war of wrath, throwing Melkor out into the void and destroying Beleriand. So, where are the dwarfs in all this? They lived in the lands of Beleriand before the elves came. Their kingdoms were Tumun Sahar and Gabil Gatol, or Nogrod and Belegost in the Blue Mountains. They traded weapons to the Sindar and taught them to make their own. After returning to Angband, Melkor attacked Beleriand. This was the first battle of the First Age, before the Noldor came from Valinor, and thanks to dwarven weaponry, the Sindar and the Elves of Osirian could withstand these first assaults, the Dolmen dwarfs even cleaning up in the east Beleriand afterwards. Further east in Middle-earth, in Khazad-dûm, the Longbeards under Durin the First flourished, and they colonized the Grey Mountain, kept trade routes open, and the orcs in the Misty Mountains in check. During the First Age, the dwarves of the Blue Mountains traded with the elves, making some of them rich. They were great craftsmen, the most famous Telkar, the maker of Angrist, Narsil, and the dragon helm of Dorlomin, only bested by Fëanor and Celebrimbor. They aided King Thingol with the building of Menegroth, the 1,000 Caves, and Finrond Felagund with the Nargothrond, also making him the beautiful necklace Nauglamir. And it is because of this famous necklace we come to the weighing of sins. This necklace came to King Thingol after the fall of Nargothrond, and a desire awoke in him to melt together the Silmaril that Beren pried from the iron crown of Morgoth with the dagger Angrist, to combine that with Nauglamir, and thus combining the greatest craftsmanship of the two races. Of course, it was dwarven craftsmen that made this happen, but they were treated disrespectfully by the king, and they slew him and took the necklace as payment for their work. The dwarves of Nogrod came with an army and sacked Menegroth after this incident, but they got massacred in return by elves, ents, and men. So even though it in a way was quid pro quo, this is one of the main reasons for the animosity between elves and dwarves through the ages. Not the first, second, or third kinslaying among themselves. And do remember that the mighty dwarf king Asagal and his army with iron masks withstood the beast, the dragon Glaurung, and wounded him, driving him back to Angband, thus saving the lives of the sons of Feanor during the battle of unnumbered tears, at the cost of the king Asagal's own life. So, to round this up, I would say that even from the slightest shadow of a utilitarian perspective, there is no doubt that when weighing the many sins of the elves against the one sin of the dwarves during the First Age, one cannot come to any other conclusion that when it comes to morally dubious deeds, the elves are indeed quite superior to the dwarves. When calling a dwarf greedy, vindictive, or grudge-holding, I implore you to remember the Quenta Silmarillion and what that meant to the fate of Beleriand and all of its great people and kingdoms. Thank you, and good night.